Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Muller with the Garden State Film Festival, and I am very excited for tonight's long-awaited filmmaker interview. Tonight, I have with me Rick Cook, who is the director of photography, Zach Krzan, the actor, writer, and producer, and Rolando Hernandez, the director and producer of the film Left Behind, A Veteran Story. So thank you all for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course, it's wonderful to finally get together with you guys. So before we jump in, I do just want to, have each of you kind of go around and just share a bit about yourselves in the film industry, and then we can jump into what the film is about. So Zach, if you want to start off, and then we can just go on around.
Sure. Like she said, I'm Zach Krzan. I'm the lead actor in this film, play a veteran coming home from Afghanistan. My background is in theater and film, New Jersey tri-state area, a couple of years in LA. Been at it for 15, close to 20 years now.
Wow.
Doing my best, pretending to be an actor.
Thank you. All right, Rolando, if you want to go.
Yeah. Hey. There's Rolando. I've been doing film for quite some time. I've been doing it for, I want to say 10 to 15 years. One of that bucket somewhere. I started as a PA on X Factor when it first came to Newark. That was the first kind of gig I ever got that was in production itself. But from studying, and that's kind of where I met Zach. I studied at Brookdale under John Bukovic, started acting. I thought I wanted to pursue acting. That's why I really wanted to kind of go into production, kind of get my way in through there. But I quickly learned that I like behind the camera way more than actually in front. And that's when I got into directing, because in directing, I realized, wow, I could be all the characters and not just be one actor. So that I always found fascinating in that element. So been doing it for quite some time. And, we have a production company in Asbury Park now that, we're constantly trying to get these projects that tell stories out and visible.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I have pretty much the same story. I've also been doing this for 15 or so years. I also went to Brookdale. That's kind of a common thread that we all have here.
Very cool.
That's sort of how I think we all either met each other or became involved in this project. I actually knew Rolando from a short film that he was in for a friend of mine. And we had a mutual friend, McGee, who, worked on this film as well. And he kind of connected me with, these two guys. And I've been shooting short films. I've shot so many short films. Some see the light of day, some don't. And this is one of two projects I have in the Garden State Film Festival this year. And I think last year there was another two as well. So it's kind of cool to be coming back.
Very cool. Well, we're happy to have you back. So I know, watching this piece, there's a lot of, the tone, the story behind it. Can you touch on, what inspired you to write this piece and just a bit of background, behind the story there?
Well, I developed the story first, so I don't want to take I know I definitely helped, formulate the script and, do some rewrites, but Rick mentioned McGee. He's the screenwriter behind this. I kind of conceptualized the idea, came to me, and I brought it to Rolando. And then for whatever reason, I felt compelled to play the character and not so much compelled to fully write the script. And this is when we were all living in Asbury Park at the time. McGee was bartending over at Cross and Orange, I believe. Me and Rolando had a couple meetings about the idea, just talking shop, chewing on it a little bit, seeing if it hit home. And I knew McGee had some success with a film in the past. The name is escaping me, unfortunately, but it actually got to Cannes Film Festival. And I've always liked McGee, creatively, personally, professionally. We go back to Brookdale as well. Worked Shakespeare together. So we brought it to him. I was like, well, I went to Rolando. I was like, I know this guy in town, bartending, creative, funny, I just like hanging out with him, which is like my baseline level of why I want to work with someone. So we brought it to him, and then like organically, I was just like, hey man, I don't want to write this. Do you? He wrote it. And then like Rick McGee was like, I've got a good DP. And that's kind of just went from there.
Great. Thank you.
Good is definitely an understatement of that. Let's talk about that. Rick is a stud of what he does.
Rick is
absolutely
the MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a really great project. I mean, it like Zach said, my baseline for working with folks is just, can I hang with you? Because you really have to spend a lot of time together. I mean, like we said, we spent 3 years on and off trying to organize. I mean, we all had our own lives going on. I'm doing many projects, they're both doing like so many different projects. But in general, when I was asked to do it, I try to lean to projects of value acting and writing more than trying to be showy with the cinematography or the filmmaking side. And this sound like a project that was leaning in that direction. So
very cool. Well, I know before the interview, we talked a bit on the filming process and what that was like. And I know, Rick, you just touched on that a little bit for us, but I'm hoping that we can talk about that. Like, how long did this film take to shoot in completion? And if the timelines match up, were you shooting during COVID at all? Did that have any effect on, the film's process at all for the team?
No, we didn't shoot during COVID. I think we were down on that time. I think we actually filmed before COVID. I think it was literally right before it, but I think in total it was about 3.5 years. I think it took us from start to completion. But we knew that from the beginning. I think Zach, Rick, and McGee, we all kind of knew that it was going to be a little bit lengthier than a normal production, because we knew one thing that that we all aligned on, that it was like pivotal, was the war scene had to be as accurate as possible. We had to get the right uniforms. We had to get the right props. And we knew that was going to be the priciest thing. So we sat together and said, well, what can we do now? And that's when we shot basically the whole film in the first go around. And then we actually tackled the psychologist scene in year 2, and then year 3 was the war scene that we ended up doing. But we had an idea. We didn't think it was going to be 3 years, but that's how things go, right? We think it's gonna happen in 2 months, and it's gonna be great. We could just come back right around, and it ended up taking 2 more years to complete it. But honestly, I wouldn't rush it at all. I'm happy at the outcome of it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because at one point, like, Zach moved to LA, and like, when's Zach coming home? And then when Zach came home for like a few days, I guess, like we quickly shot some
filming.
Yeah, and now Rolando's in LA, so now
now we just need Rick out here. We gotta bring Rick out here now.
Yeah, I think our initial thought was 2 winters. Like first half of the movie, first winter, then everything else second winter, and then it really just kind of extended to 3 winters. It was like December, January. I might be wrong a little bit, but it felt like that's how it kind of worked.
Yeah, that seems pretty accurate. I mean, like the first week that we were filming, it snowed, which ended up being horrible because of then the continuity became like, can we line up another weekend where it snows? Like, it got pretty crazy. And we had all sorts of big dreams of this war scene, from flying to somewhere else on the planet, going to Texas.
There was an idea about going to Texas for the war scene. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we actually had to change it. The original place was a desert kind of feel to it, and making it really kind of fit that Afghanistan kind of world. And then it was like, we have a yard in the back, and how do we change it? And then we just kind of changed the terrain a little bit and made it work. So it was filmmaking 101 right there, just right to what you could do, right? So
to piggyback on that, and to like throw some more props at McGee, he did a bunch of research, and apparently Afghanistan is so multi-terrain. Like there's areas that look like, you know, Western Monmouth County. There's areas that look like the West Coast of, you know, United States with like skiing and mountains. And then there's also desert. So it's not just one big plain of desert. And when he brought that to my attention, or maybe mine and Rolando's, I don't remember, I was like, screw it. It doesn't have to be the desert, you know?
Wow.
And then I think it also was supposed to be, isn't the original script all in one kind of like timeline? And because we shot it different years, we were like, well, let's jump like a few 6 months into his PTSD. So we like, you know, a lot of magic acts to make this work.
Well, that was because Zach came back from LA with a beard. We had to fit that into the script. So,
and I wouldn't shave it. I remember.
Yeah, he had a show that he had to do. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about the selfish actor part of that.
You're a producer though, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Most of you were on the East Coast. Does that mean that the war scene was filmed East Coast? Yeah, in New Jersey.
Yeah, everything was shot in New Jersey. That was one thing we really want to pride ourselves on as well, is making it New Jersey based, because we do have all of those elements, right? We had the shore town that, you know, this couple was going to live in and raise a family in, and then we had the terrains that fit the war that we needed. So it was,
well, that's great. Now, I know that you three had ties back to Brookdale College, sort of knew each other before going into this, the film, but where did you find your other cast and crew members? How did you begin working with everybody else on the team?
Take it away, Rolando.
All right. Rick kind of brought on his own crew on that one. That's something that I really do. If a cinematographer has their own kind of crew, once again, we said in the beginning, it's really about the comfortability and kind of seeing how things flow. So Rick kind of brought his own AC and own grip, I believe, to the project. And cast and crew, honestly, cast we did through backstage, and we held auditions in the city, and we did that there. And I think we kind of filled in the rest with local actors that we either worked with before or was recommended by somebody. And then for that first half, and then that third half where we did that war scene, it was really more all hands on deck. So we had a lot more local support. We had way more hands. I think we even had like 3 PAs that were just wanted to support on there. So we had a little bit more hands on there, but a lot of it was all local. Yeah, and that's it. Really not hired. Just like the cast was, I believe, the principals on there. They were from New York. Actually, Stefan,
Connecticut, maybe
from Connecticut, correct? So he was from Connecticut.
Very cool. Thank you. So, New Jersey-based film, is that what inspired the submission to the Garden State Film Festival, or have you ever submitted to our festival before? What was the inspiration behind this submittal?
I mean, I feel like, Rick, this is a good answer for you. I feel like you're this.
Well, I didn't see the film. I didn't know the film was done. But I would say that the obvious answer, is of course. I mean, we shot this in Asbury Park, you know, and the festivals in Asbury Park.
Naturally.
Yeah. I mean, we filmed a block away from the Paramount, you know.
Wow.
And it's Garden State Film Festival. I mean, almost every year I've seen Rolando. I've met up with him for drinks, whether I have a film in the festival or he does or whatever. And this year it'll just be me and Zach without Rolando.
Yeah,
so, I'm gonna FaceTime and watch the movie with you guys.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing Johnny Max and it's super loud.
Well, yeah, I mean this film, like Asbury is a character in this film. Like Frank's Deli is in this film, and if you're even from remotely close to Asbury Park, you know what Frank's is.
Yeah,
and it's I feel like it, you know, kind of like what they both said. It's our home festival. It feels prideful to kind of be submitted and accepted. So it's in our backyard, you know. It's really cool to kind of be involved with something that's homegrown and something that's you know, like the premier festival. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, we're excited that to have your film as part of our festival. And I know that, we're beginning to wrap up, but I did want to know, and to whoever would like to answer, your film is premiering, and I'm wondering what feelings you're hoping the audience gets from this film. What's your message? What are you hoping that the audience gets out?
I could definitely answer that. There's one thing I would love to hear. Hopefully, Zach and Rick could kind of report back and let me know, but I would love to hear a gasp of the air. And because this film does have some type of anxiety kind of driven elements to it. So I think there's certain scenes here where it can take your breath away. So I really hope that's a reaction that does come from the audience.
Definitely. Thank you for speaking on that. So we are excited to have your film in the festival. The festival is taking place in person, so we're excited to welcome Zach and Rick. You both will be joining us.
Yep.
March 23rd through the 26th in Asbury Park. I'm sorry, Rolando, that we'll be missing you.
I miss everybody too.
Of course. So Left Behind, A Veteran Story is being premiered on Saturday, March 25th at let me just get this correct, the showroom, and it'll be from 12:15 to 2:15. So we hope that the attendees and the guests that are watching tonight will be able to tune in on that Saturday to see the premiere of this film.
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah.
And thank you all for joining us tonight. I know it's been a long time coming, so thank you all for joining on with me.
They don't know that.
Yeah, that was the first time.
This was our first attempt at this.
This is our first attempt.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you,
All take care, and we'll see you at the festival.
All right.
Perfect. Thanks.